Welcome to the Hustle Class Podcast. We have a quick disclaimer. All material presented within Hustle Class LLC is not investment advice, but for educational purposes only. Trading involves risk, and you are solely responsible for your investment decisions and assume the entire risk of any trading you choose to undertake. Owners of Hustle Class LLC and its representatives are not registered as security broker-dealers or investment advisors, either with the United States Securities and Exchange Commission or with any state securities regulatory authority. Please utilize a registered investment or financial advisor to make any financial decisions. If you choose to invest without seeking advice from such an advisor or entity, then any consequences resulting from your investments are your sole responsibility. By utilizing Hustle Class LLC and our content, you are indicating your consent and agreement to our disclaimer. Welcome to Hustle Class. Mic check 1 2 1 2. We are back at it again with another one. Yes, this is Hustle Class. I'm your host Jermaine, and we about to get it cracking real quick. So this week, I listen, to my motivational playlist. I have another song for y'all today, Organic Miracles by Larry June and Harry Fraud. And the lyric that Larry June spits in this that I wanted to tell y'all about was when he said, calculated moves, everything must make sense. Took the negatives on my life and then I got rich, right? So I just say that to say, calculated moves, man. I was on a call with Eyon today, and we were just like fascinated by how quickly we're moving in the directions that we want to move in terms of our, financial goals and how much knowledge we're getting, how much game we're getting. And, we're just opening our world to so many more things than we could have ever expected. Calculated moves, and everything must make sense. Took the negatives out my life and then I got rich. I'm the king of, protecting my energy. If something is no longer serving me, if something is negative in my life, if I have to, thug it out in the time being, I do. But ultimately, I try to get out of that tough spot of that unfortunate situation where I have a lot of negatives pouring into me, because I feel like the positives have to pour into me so that I can exude that positivity and, speak things into existence and, emphasize the law of attraction in my life. So, I don't want negatives in my life. I want to have a clear head. I want to have a clear mind. I want to have a clear spirit, be clean physically, and just go. Just be able to accomplish everything I want to accomplish. And I don't want anything to hold me back, all the negatives. So once again, calculated moves. Everything must make sense. Took the negatives on my life and then I got rich. One more thing about calculated moves, everything must make sense. When it comes to crypto and stocks and things of that nature, even like nowadays I'm getting into like bots, right? And flipping and NFTs and, all types of things, right? It seems like a lot of people are really quick to jump the gun and don't really do their research. I'm guilty of that one. Like my number one guilt trip is NBA Top Shot. Like I'm down, my portfolio is down 50% because I jumped into it too fast without really understanding it, for one. And even then, it's still kind of, since it's in beta, the creators of it did sabotage it a little bit, which led to my loss of value in my portfolio, right? But I would say that that just reminded me that, for one, you have to be patient, and two, you have to have calculated moves. It has to make sense before you go forward. It has to. So make sure that as you're listening and you're hearing about stocks and you're hearing about crypto and NFTs and, all things of that nature and different hustles, right? You make sure that you do your due diligence, you do your research. If it requires a financial advisor, you consult, you do the things that you need to do, right? That's the bar. So last week, we talked about some of the crypto stuff. Not going to get into it this week. We're going to wait another week before we talk more about, Safe Moon, Safe Mars, and Moonstorm. But besides those three, the other two that I've heard about recently is Cake, which I think is Pancake Swap. So that's Cake as a crypto ticker. And then another one, one that I've really enjoyed using or involving myself with is BNB. Most definitely. BNB is fire. And then another one that I've been rocking with that I've also kind of been engaging with is, what's that ticker called? Yes, NFT art. NFT art is the other one that I've heard about recently. So I'm only saying it so that you're hearing it here first and you can get that on your radar. If you want to, hear more about it, I could talk more about it next week after I actually do some research. and things of that nature. So yeah, we'll talk more about that another time. But right now, what I wanted to get into is this week. So Biden had said that he was going to increase taxes, and the market took that very terribly. I mean, I think SPY was down $10 in within a 10-15 minute time frame. Like, it just shot completely down, which was an overreaction by the market because I mean, once the dust settled on that move, everything kind of bounced back. But yeah, it was kind of like a lot of people who engage in the stock market like to see their profit. They like to take their profit. When you tell them that you're going to be taxing them crazy amounts, they're probably going to take that money and put it elsewhere, like, crypto, real estate, whatever else they can make without having to get taxed so heavily, because, the taxes is basically the money that they made getting taken away from them, right? So that's just food for thought. But yeah, after Biden said that, the market had a correction of sorts, or it didn't really have a correction because it shot back up the next day as fast as it shot down, right? So nothing really changed in the state of the market except people who were in options kind of got, flushed out if they didn't hold their positions down because of the decrease in, the price and the theta. Even though the implied volatility itself had increased in a lot of different stocks, those other values I think overweighed and made people feel like they were down bad or losing, so they probably cut their losses. And then a lot of companies have done exceptionally well in terms of their price action off of earnings. Because what do we know about earnings? When a company gives out earnings, they can go up or down, right? They can beat earnings and go up. They can beat earnings and go down. But a lot of it is about the internal stuff that happens in a meeting and how the shareholders or the big people who actually invest in these companies take it. And so Facebook had great earnings. Google had great earnings. Apple had great earnings, to say the least. I think Amazon should be coming up soon. And some other companies. Microsoft had good earnings, if I'm not mistaken, but the price went down for the stock, right? But yeah, a lot of these companies had great earnings. So with that being said, my eyes last week I talked about Square, and I talked about Disney. And so for Square, it definitely is at a place where it's like chilling right now. It's still in like a rising wedge of sorts. So I like it. Because of the directions that the company is going to head in. They beat earnings the last 3 times they had earnings. So in August they beat earnings by 600%. In November they beat earnings by 100%. In February they beat earnings by 32%. So I'm banking on them to beat this upcoming May 6th. For me, I'm just loading up the chopper. That's what I like to say. So it's sitting a little bit above. It's sitting above a strong support, and it's sitting at a medium support. So I think it's a good spot for a buy for me. So I'm looking at Square. I'm rocking with Square and their earnings. I feel like they've been doing a lot of Cash App giveaways. A lot of people have been buying crypto and stocks on Cash App. Not to mention, Square is great for businesses that do transactions online. Another company that had great earnings, Shopify. The only reason why I didn't buy Shopify stock is just because it's quite expensive. Shopify was about, when I was looking at it, about $1,000 a share. Well, not even 1,000. It was like 1,100 a share. After earnings, they've shot up to like 1,300. So that would have been a 200 gain right there. But personally, it was just too expensive for me. And, focusing on a lot of different things in the market, you're not going to catch everything at the right time, right? That's why people say don't over diversify, because what happens when, you're looking at, other stocks, you're not looking at Shopify, and Shopify goes crazy, right? So you want to make sure that you're focusing on the companies that you see value in. And even I started really seeing a lot of the value in Shopify recently because, I've been flipping. And when I flip off of a lot of these websites, they use the Shopify app for their transactions. I know Telfar does a lot of, if you're into coins and silver, a lot of those companies use Shopify as well. A lot of online stores that my friends have go through Shopify. I know my friend, Jason, and my friend Saeed, both my frat brothers actually, but my friends as well. They both have stores, and I think the transactions took me through Shopify. So I should have known Shopify was going to kill earnings. Last time they beat earnings by 25%. This time they beat it by 170%. That's a kill right there. I might start add some sound bites in for when there's some great news, some sound bites. But we're growing the podcast as time progresses, so we'll see. But yeah, Shopify, it went crazy. So I just wanted to mention that for those interested in investing, because it's still at a good place. It is sitting at a resistance right now, so it could definitely bounce down. It also has a gap that it created that it might try to fill. But right now, I'm very bullish on Shopify just because I've seen how things have changed, and a lot of businesses. I mean, if Shopify really aces down their platform, I mean, they'll be a force to reckon with, right? And like I said, Square is something I talked about last time. Still looking good on Square. Disney, I love it so much. I mean, it's just Disney is just cool and like low volume. Nobody's really focused on it. There are other head honchos that are going crazy right now. Like I said, a lot of companies had good earnings. A lot of companies have more earnings next week. Disney is going to be May 13th. I foresee Disney having a slight bull run up to May 13th and then actually gapping up and potentially coming back to correct that sooner than later based on how the market goes, because I feel like we are due for a slight correction just based on how high the SPY is. But I really like Disney right here. And, I talked a lot about Disney and why I like it on the previous episode. So you could go back and listen to that, or on either on the previous episode or 2 episodes ago. It has to do with NFTs in the future as well as Disney streaming, right? So actually, I don't think I talked about this. I think I talked about this on a phone call. I might not have mentioned it here, but a lot of people have been talking about Snowfall, right? Great show. A lot of people have a lot of buzz with it. A lot of people have been talking about the Winter Soldier and Falcon, right? And the Falcon. That's a show that people have been talking about as well. And we just had March Madness, and we have the NBA season going on, and a lot of different other sports going on, right? Now all of these fall under Disney. How? The Walt Disney Company owns more than 50% stake in Hulu, right? Or majority stake in Hulu. Disney also has their own platform, right? Disney Plus streaming. They did exceptionally well their last 2 earnings. Last earnings, they were up by 190%. The previous one, they were up by 72%. Keep in mind, they have not really opened up their parks yet. And their parks were one of those big sources of revenue, right? Disney on Ice and things of that nature were big sources of revenue, right? So they're creating these new shows and creating these new platforms, and they're also, like I said, heavily involved in Hulu, which has great shows that keep you engaged and keep you subscribed, because that's how they make money. And they also had ESPN, right? I know that when I did my bracket challenges, which I won one of them, by the way. So I actually won some money. But in the bracket challenges you have, I did a couple on ESPN, and a lot of the different groups that I'm in that were doing bracket challenges were doing them through ESPN. So I know that ESPN was heavy with March Madness, which just happened in March. So we're thinking about Disney earnings. I feel like they're gonna kill it. And the fact that their stock is moving right now is beautiful to me, because if it's moving too much before earnings, then I would be concerned. But right now, I mean, I've just been loading up the chopper. So, I'm right there with Disney. I love it. When it comes to companies that I'm looking at moving forward, similar to Shopify, I've actually been using eBay to flip as well. And eBay, had earnings today, and their earnings they're only up by 2%, so they kind of dropped, right? They dropped. And it's like, okay, eBay's dropping. Are they a good company? I've just found a lot of usability in it, especially because knowing how flipping happens on different sites, I know that a lot of people would much rather flip sneakers on eBay than they would on, say like a StockX or GOAT, if you're not selling a lot of sneakers at a time, right? Just because your profit margins are probably easier on eBay than they are on other apps. So I like eBay in terms of like the flipping aspects. As a stock, because they didn't do well on earnings, not quite sure how I would approach it, but they do give dividends, so that means they are a pretty stable company, it looks like, from their price action. Can't lose much, can't make much. But I wonder what the future looks like for them, because the same way I was using Shopify I was using Shopify to get a lot of stuff to flip. I was also flipping them on eBay, right? But one thing I will say that I just thought about, so the same way I was using all these websites and they were taking me to Shopify to be able to transact, when I was doing my eBay stuff, it was taking me through to PayPal to transact, right? And PayPal is also a very important company to keep in mind. So, PayPal right now, it has sort of like a bull flag, or sort of like a rising wedge. And so, keep your eyes on PayPal. PayPal has earnings coming up May 5th. Last earnings, they beat by 8%. The one before that, they beat by 13%. Each time they beat earnings, it seems like they have a nice little bull run before they come back down. So I really like PayPal right here. So, definitely something to look at. And my apologies. One of the stocks I talked about last time was Roku, and I forgot to mention it. But Roku has earnings coming up. They beat their last earnings by 1,000%. The one before that by over 100%. So, I mean, right now Roku's rocking and they're rolling. So I'm really impressed with Roku. Seems like a pattern that they have is an inverse head and shoulders, if you know what that stock pattern is. If not, you can look it up. It's quite bullish. And right now it's sitting at a strong support. So we'll see what happens there. Yeah, but those are kind of like my stock picks, what I'm looking at. Don't forget, like I said, over diversification could kill your portfolio. Focus on what's important to you. Consult with who you need to consult with. Next week we'll come back with more gems, more vibes. For those who are looking to flip, concert tickets are back in style. Since things might be opening up soon. So I know that, what's it called? I think there's Bruno Mars is going to be going on tour or something like that. So that might be a good flipping opportunity if you can get pre-sale tickets. Bad Bunny, I already got those. I'm trying to sell them. And we'll see what other artists come up. But I always tell people, like, I'm more interested in focusing on smaller artists with like cult followings in certain cities, because the tickets are relatively cheap. They're all pretty much general admission because they're new artists, and they sell out pretty fast. And a lot of people are going to want to buy those resale tickets. So that's what I usually like to focus on before the pandemic. But now, I mean, people are hungry just to do something. I mean, the airlines are jacking up all these flight prices. So, what I'm saying, we're also falling victim to that in like the ticket realm and things of that nature. Like, everybody's paying way too much for stuff because we just haven't had it in a while, right? So that's that. Well, another thing to think about is we have a trading seminar and financial workshop coming up in Miami. That'll be in June 19th. In Miami. So I'm gonna be going with my good friend and partner, Eyon, my good business partner Eyon, and we're gonna be over there giving in-person game, and a live seminar. So if you show up, you're gonna get a lot of great information. You're gonna be able to hang out with us and have a great time with us. We're gonna have refreshments, food, a DJ, music, vibes, and everything else. And if you're there for just the whole weekend, we can definitely have some one-on-one time, sometime while we're there. So definitely just reach out. But yeah, we're in Miami. So if you're in Miami or in the Florida area, please let people know. I'll put the link in the show notes to attend that or to register on the Eventbrite. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out via email. It's going to be a great event, and I'm excited. I'm honestly excited to be able to impact people with the knowledge that I've gained, and also absorb some of the knowledge that's going to be presented, because Eyon and I are not the only, really, really into this stuff, people that are going to be there, to say the least. There's going to be lots of people there with lots of experiences, lots of knowledge, lots of game, what I'm saying? Because I'm heavy into stocks and I'm heavy into flipping, but somebody else is heavy into crypto. And then I go and sit there and I listen to what they have to say, right? Because in crypto, this whole thing about staking and farming is crazy, right? You don't even know what those words mean, but yeah, crypto is really wild right now. You can make a lot of money. So I'm hoping that I go there and learn something too. So please definitely plug in and definitely show up, show out. Yeah, so please come to Miami. And yeah, before you come to Miami, make sure that you prepare. What I'm saying? I got vaccinated. What I'm saying? I'm hoping everybody's trying to be safe. Everybody's trying to, do the best practices that they can to ensure that they're safe and everybody else is safe. So yeah, that's that. But yeah, so we'll talk. Jermaine out. Enjoy the rest of your evenings, and let's get this money.